go. We've all newly arrived. There's been no technical difficulties.
There's been no lag whatsoever.
There was never any traffic.
Certainly not.
Certainly not. With that said,
guys, welcome to the Margins Podcast.
welcome back to the Margins Podcast, where we talk about books,
We talk about the books that leave a mark,
start a conversation.
stay with you long after the last page.
We get it right, finally.
Let's
Love,
go.
love that.
52 weeks later.
Yeah.
All right.
We're just about there. But today's guest, you guys can't see him, listeners. You'll get the joke if you watch it. Today's guest built a career around storytelling in many forms, from screenwriting and comedy to long-form fiction, bringing a voice that blends satire, emotional honesty, and has an eye for the strange ways humanity carries itself in the future. His debut novel, The Second World, takes readers to a newly independent Mars, where politics, ambition, all of it, love and legacy collide. We are so excited to have this guest today.
Yes.
Welcome, Jake Korell.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Of course.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
Thank you.
Very happy to be here.
Thanks for taking the drive. Braving the drive in is crazy.
It's worth it to see these two faces.
You know?
If
in person.
if you did have traffic and you were there for a while and you were having to listen to something, what were you listening to?
I was actually listening to an audiobook of Michael Costa's book. He's a Daily Show correspondent.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is not a fiction book, but he just has a book about tennis because he was like a semi-pro growing up. And I think he's funny, so I thought it'd be funny. And it was funny.
Not disappointed.
Yeah.
Did you ever read How to Be Perfect, Mike Schur?
No, I haven't read that.
That one's pretty good too.
I'm a big Mike Schur fan,
Yeah.
so.
I assumed you would be.
Yeah.
I assumed you would be. I had a pretty good take on that one. But yeah, we're excited to get into The Second World.
Yeah. As you guys know, every so often, not every episode, we do a whole second.
Yeah.
Chilling. Chilling. It's been a really crazy week. Honestly, Monday was like worth 2.5 days. So now I'm already on like Wednesday.
Should be the weekend. We're on hump day.
You know what I mean? So it's been good. Marketing's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long hours.
Yes.
Great,
What about you?
Great returns. Great, right?
Amazing returns.
Amazing returns.
Those dividends are
Promised. Guaranteed. Yeah. No, I've been great. Got to celebrate our close friend Lindsay, friend of the pod, her birthday this weekend. Took little man to the park. Been running him rampant because he had to go get had to go to the doctors on Monday. Super healthy, just check up. Growing up, as they do. But yeah, it's been a good week so far. Going to the zoo tomorrow. As you know, we love that LA zoo.
That's your spot, man.
The LA Zoo?
Yeah, we have a membership there, so
Oh, you got to go all the time.
Yeah,
I love the zoo.
They know you.
Get steps in. Yeah.
They know you.
The vendors, I'm almost like, I'm always here. Don't try to sell to me.
But Jake,
How are you doing?
Good. I have had a crazy week.
Why?
A week ago today, officially released my first book. So, yeah, it's been an unusual week for me. On Saturday, had a little casual book launch party at a bar.
okay.
So many of my friends came out, posted about it, supported it. It was wonderful, beautiful. Love those people. Wore a custom T-shirt that said "This is my book" with a little QR code on it.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was a great time. I was celebrating for sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when we celebrated my friend's birthday on Sunday, I saw pictures. I was like, oh, I forgot I played beer pong. We celebrated too.
Yeah. You guys celebrate.
Big, yeah. You have to.
Yeah, there you go.
You have to. Yeah. But yeah, I did want to get into talking about Second World. As soon as Jake got here, I was like, I'm biting my tongue so hard to ask you about so many things.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. I think we want to start off by saying it's something that Cristiano and I like to do for authors. There's so much when you're releasing a book, whether it's your first, whether it's your 100th, whatever it may be, I know there's you allow the reader to, take it in for themselves. We talk about how books and themes reflect in our lives, but you as the author, you as the creator of this world, these people, these characters, what do you hope when the page is turned, when the last second is listened to on the audiobook? We respect both. What do you hope readers take away?
There's a lot that this book covers. It kind of hits on a whole lot of different things, not necessarily too deeply, but sort of covers a lot all in one book. And I think, the book itself doesn't take itself too seriously.
Right.
And I really want the reader to, kind of vibe with that and not take themselves too seriously, not take our world too seriously, because a lot of the book is a, reflection of our own world.
Right.
And with all of the mess that it is in every sort of way, it's okay to laugh at it. Life is absolutely absurd, and for anybody to take that seriously, I think is in itself kind of absurd. So yeah, just I guess kind of like a melancholic chuckle at the end of it.
A good reflection of it.
You gotta be able to laugh at yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the, I think he mentioned it earlier, but when I first started reading it, I did get like Matt Denneman. Like, you touch on heavy topics, but very, gently, very lightly, keeping it humorous, which just honestly makes it edible. It's sometimes pretty difficult to dive into books where it's like you're sloughing through really deep content, and then it's just overly emotional. But I do like how the humor breaks up those heavy concepts. I don't know if this is a great example or metaphor, but when I was reading it, it kind of reminded me of watching an episode of Everyone Hates Chris.
Okay, yeah,
no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I haven't seen that show in a long time, but I sort of remembered what it was like. Yeah,
it's very humorous, but honestly, if this wasn't written to be funny, this is a deep situation we're dealing with right now.
Yes.
So, but yes. Those was the one-to-ones that I thought about when I was reading it. But
I want to take two? Yeah,
sure. So you talked about how Second World started as a television pitch. Then it became a podcast series before ultimately becoming a novel. When you look at this version that exists today, what did the story gain by moving through those different mediums?
So much. So this idea, the original spark of it, was 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's kind of been a decade in the making. Started out as a very bad adult animation pilot, and I just continued to develop that, and that part went through many different versions, and that part of it was really teaching me how to think visually, because you're writing for the screen. It was animated too, so I had a lot of creative freedom to do lots of different things, both visually and story-wise, character-wise, tone-wise, and developed a series Bible for that. But nothing ever really came of it. A lot of people said they liked the script, but nothing ever happened, as do so many projects in this industry.
Yeah.
But I still, really liked the idea. I thought it was good, so I kind of, would shelve it, come back to it, shelve it, come back to it. Thought it would be... This was when narrative podcasts were starting to become a thing. I thought, hey, I'll just see if I can, adapt it into this, and maybe that's another avenue.
Yeah.
It didn't end up being another avenue, but it was still an amazing chance to adapt it into something that was totally just audio. And that did change a lot of it, And so when I started writing the book, I had all of these different things to pick from. That was visual, audio, and kind of mesh them all together. And it did, like, I had a lot of material when I first started actually sitting down to write the book, which was, I think, very helpful.
I love so much that the book took on like an era. It's not the story, for those that have not read it yet. We highly, highly, highly recommend you guys get it. We will not say spoilers without saying spoiler alert.
Yeah, of course.
Which we
never
do.
I don't know.
But I know that I want to know at what point, or how did you come to the conclusion of making this be one book? Because I easily throughout was like, oh,
it could end here.
When the Pauls show up, that could have been and stop right after, and not in oh, it should have ended, but the idea of doing this longer span, beautifully, you did beautifully.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just thought usually I without calling out other authors, I feel like there'd be a money grab or something where it's like, oh, I could definitely break this up.
This is a book 2. This is a book 3.
Yeah,
but to give us this arc in full with so many of these characters, and as they're still growing, was that ever like in question? Was there ever maybe I'll make this into a series or?
Yeah, I mean, so the original idea was a TV show, and it's like I'm trying to think of what would season 3 be like, what would season 4 be like, and I wanted to have at least a general idea of where it was going. So I did have that, but as a writer and as a viewer reader, I don't have a lot of patience. I like a very quick pace. I like things to be moving, for stuff to be happening. So although I do think a lot of authors would have split this up into probably 3 books. I mean, there's a very obvious part 1, part 2, part 3. Mm-hmm. That just was not like it. That wasn't in me. And I also like to trust the reader to understand what I'm doing, understand what this scene is, what this situation is, what this looks like, who these people are. Like, you get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna keep going.
Right.
And I wish more creators would do that, because I'm not a huge fan of the slow burn.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't in my DNA, and also the story itself really felt like it all needed to be in one, because you want to see this guy grow up, and where he ends up, I don't think it necessarily would have worked split up into 3 books.
Mm-hmm. Before writing for television and developing larger projects, you were experimenting with storytelling. There was early YouTube shorts like The Ville, where your character Craig was, part of a young group of men struggling to connect emotionally. It's not a got you, I promise.
You guys did a lot of digging.
And
here.
then at Syracuse, you also wrote for Float Your Boat, the comedy sketch group, for a period. What instincts from that period of your life still show up in how you write characters today?
Wow. Great job doing your homework. Was not expecting.
I watched them all.
Was not expecting a question about these. I used to make silly videos with my high school friends all the time, and that is actually where my love of writing came from. I always loved cracking jokes, being funny. I thought I wanted to be a stand-up comedian at some point, but like that all sort of faded away because I'm like, well, I need a real job. And was very into math and science. Thought I was going to be like a geneticist, physicist, whatnot. And then my senior year of high school, as I'm making these videos with these friends, it clicked for whatever reason that, oh, people actually do this, they write for TV as a career, maybe I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So then my focus was purely on how do I do that, because it just sounded like the greatest career, the most fun you could have going to your job.
Yeah.
Writer's room.
Writer's
absolutely.
room. You're just sitting around shooting the shit with a bunch of other people, telling stories, cracking jokes.
Yeah.
You get free lunch. It's a,
Craft
I mean,
services
enough
can't
for
beat
me.
it.
yeah, it just sounded like heaven. So that, to me, that's kind of where the writing started. And so doing those short videos with my friends was the first little bit of writing I got to do. And sketches are so much fun because you get right into the meat of it right away. There's no messing around, and I do think that that's like why I write how I write, where it's all about pace. Like, I'm ready to jump into it, get out as fast as I can, trust that people know what's going on. So yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but I do see a lot of that sort of early sketch work kind of in my writing now. So, good question.
Found family is something that kind of runs through Second World. Before your professional career, you spent time performing with the a cappella group.
Yeah.
Orange Appeal.
Yeah, Orange Appeal.
All right. How did that experience, just of being a part of a close creative group, shape the way you write friendships and loyalty in the book?
Great question. Shout out to Orange Appeal. I was a college a cappella guy. My friends are everything to me. I have always been a very loyal friend. And, expect that loyalty from my friends. I'm so bad at being alone by myself. So I'm very social, always want to be around people. Ironically, when you're writing a book, it's not exactly what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, friends have just always been a very important part of my life. I am close with my family, but I never, friends are different because you pick them. Mm-hmm. They're the family that you choose.
Right.
And I love my family dearly, but I didn't choose them. Mm-hmm. And also, having moved out to LA after college, my family is either on the East Coast or in Chicago. So all I had were my friends. And building that community, creating that community yourself, I think means so much more than, say, I don't want to hate on anybody who joins a frat, but like joining a frat just because we are guys in a frat, like you still don't really choose who else is in that frat.
Right.
But yet this is my community and these are my friends because we are all in this group. Mm-hmm. With a cappella, we had a shared interest, all singing together.
Mm-hmm. Depending on each other.
Yeah, depending on each other, yeah. And practicing with each other, learning how to dance with each other, like you're learning all of these different things and, going through these new experiences, especially in college, going through all these new experiences together. Found family has always been a huge part of my personal life.
You're in good company here. We're probably to the nauseating point for our listeners, but we very much heavily talk about how important our friends. That's really our not. I always say currency. That's always a wrong way to say it, but that is where like my value I add so much to is like my time apart from my own family and before having a little one was investing in friendships and keeping those going for years on end. And making sure you're doing the call and the check-in and everything. So yeah, I that was something I very much felt throughout. Was
immediately when you throughout the book.
It wasn't just because we're big fans of Liza Lamora.
Yes.
So along with so many of the other books that we've talked about, and found family is such a important part of so many people's lives, because not everyone starts off with like the greatest of families,
right?
And even if you do, circumstances can change things. So yeah.
And it's something just to be said about finding, because you find yourself, as you get older, like, you kind of change. And then, as you said earlier, like, your family, they're going to give you a bunch of values that you don't really get to choose. You kind of have to adapt to. Mm-hmm. And then you go through this, everyone has this area where you're trying to find who you are, what you like, who you're going to become. And then, like, there's this group of, like, some, you might have a lot, might have a little, but you just have this core group who are also going through this with you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's you can't put a value on that. Like,
yeah, you can't. One of my best friends I've known since we were 12, and he lives out in LA. I see him every weekend. Yeah,
I love that. Talking about family, Flip isn't written as a perfect hero. Even though he carries resentment towards his father, Buzz Buchanan, we still see flashes of the same pride and stubbornness that he criticizes. The example I thought of was his post-Olympic interview when he's talking about the match with Robbie. I thought I felt like that was like a clear moment for, like, if it was a character arc, he'd be able to be like with grace. Mm-hmm. You know, Robbie's a great guy, but he still had, I felt like, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, rightfully so, but, like, you know. So, with that said, how did you approach writing a character, approach writing a character trying to define himself against his father while still carrying pieces of him?
I think it's just, like, such an inherent thing in all of us to look at our parents and be like, that is so wrong. I'm going to do everything the opposite.
Yeah.
But then still sort of turn into your parents. Mm-hmm. That's just, like, you know, it's so human of us. I mean, these people raised us. It makes sense. And I personally know that my father was not perfect, and there are some things that I would change, but I also see pieces of himself in me. And yeah, I mean, it just felt like so natural. It's a very human thing
to address. Yeah, absolutely. I kept struggling with that. Not struggling with the book. The book, I mean, how Flip was their dynamic was such a treat to go back and forth with them. Buzz, I mean, all the characters are great, but Buzz was so...
I love Buzz.
Yeah. You love to, like, I love to have him under my skin. Like, it's just like, oh, you get here's another shot. Here's another chance to, you know, right or wrong. Swallow the pride. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, there's something to be said about... like those imperfect characters. Mm-hmm. Referencing another book. Is it King of Ashes or is it Razor Blade? I think it's Razor Blade Tears. Where you have these two dads who are dealing with their sons in drastically different ways than the average person might, and the things they're going through. But both the fathers probably wouldn't be liked in, like, the, you know, the core, like, mainstream view. I remember talking to Stratton about, I was like, you know, I get them. Like, I get them. I'm not saying I agree with what their beliefs are and how they're raising they're trying to raise their kids, but I understand they're dealing with their own level of trauma, which kind of you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
And then you kind of enter this thing where, which I think you address in this book as well, where you realize, like, shit, they're still trying to understand it too. They're still figuring it out. Like, you know, you eventually reach an age where you realize, like, oh, my parents they're still, that's why it was like that. They were still figuring it out.
We're all people.
Yeah.
And, you know, just people trying to figure out how to be people. And I think when you run into a character that is too perfect in a sort of way, it's like almost not relatable.
Yeah.
And kind of boring, because it's so unrealistic.
Right.
And like, nobody's perfect, and I have my own flaws, and I mean, you two don't.
No. Thank you. Thank you for
Not at all.
addressing. I felt like there was an elephant in the room. So glad you addressed that.
I know I said earlier I love Buzz. I want to see why he's unapologetically wrong a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he's gonna smash that wall. I don't know about you guys, but I've always wanted that, like the ability to just do shit and just worry about the consequences later. I'll deal with them. It is what it is. But then you want that, and you end up going the other way. You're so introspective, you're just fucking staring in your own head. Yeah. But I think that's my favorite thing about Buzz. Awesome. And I also think that's one thing that Flip likes about his dad as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Throughout the book, there's tension between legacy, pride, and love, amongst many other things. But legacy feels like the gravitational center of the story. But it can motivate characters or weigh them down. How did you think about those forces shaping the characters?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of one of those things that I personally kind of fight with myself about. What is important, what's not important. Like 100 years from now, if somebody remembers this book that I wrote, does that really matter? Because 200 years from now, nobody will.
Right.
Right. So you think.
But so, yeah, and, it depends on religious beliefs, philosophical beliefs. If you think you die and that's it, that'll obviously shape how you think about legacy.
Right.
And I find myself to be a very forward-thinking person, so I like to think about the future. This book is set in the future. And, when you think far enough into the future, really nothing matters. And all of the problems in our society today, you think hundreds of years into the future, no one's gonna care.
Right.
So why are we fighting about this now?
Right.
I find myself thinking that a lot. I kind of think I strayed away from the question. But each of these characters obviously has a view on legacy and what they think is important. And Flip himself, throughout the book, is just kind of choosing, like, making sure who's right, who's wrong, and kind of seeing the benefits, pros and cons of each sort of point of view. And that was, also like my personal journey through all of that as well.
I did listen to I think it was
Citywide Blackout.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
I listened to your interview on
the
that.
other podcast.
Or listened to parts of that, and your explanation of when you're writing that plot means so much to you, opposed to there are those that are out there that allow their characters to lead the way.
Yeah, that to me, I don't understand that necessarily, because like I want to know what's going to happen in my story, and like obviously these characters, they may stray a little bit within a scene or something, but I've heard people, I've heard writers be like, well, I didn't expect my character to kill that person. I was like, well.
I brought it up because we had Nicholas Binge on a couple weeks ago. UK author, wrote this book. I know that you love sci-fi very much. Has been compared to or related to Blake Crouch with an R. Right? But dark matter and recursion, very much in that vein.
Yeah, for sure.
But Nick was saying how he's like, I would love to be one of those writers that has storyboard that has, the red, but I look more like Charlie Day, in Always Sunny with the red string going everywhere, type of silhouette. But when it came to writing, he was always like, oh yeah, I'll just write. And then I chip away at it, like, afterwards. So I was like, oh, great take. But same thing. I'm like, oh man, to allow the pen just to go.
Yeah.
And get out of hand.
Yeah. You write as well. Is that what usually takes the lead?
I use the Tolman method. It's actual real rhetorical strategy to teach you in critical thinking and critical writing classes, where you have to have a thesis, you have to have data to back up your thesis, you have to have backing, you have to have, there's more, but basically everything. In using a Tolman method, you can write a paper on anything. Dust. And that's how I write even like my books or like my movie scripts. I try to, and so, because it just gives me like such a huge framework where I'm just writing in the middle. I have a great start. I start something I like in the beginning. I have the why. I have, it's already set out for me before. I have this wealth of information before I ever start writing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense to me than just letting your pen go.
Yeah.
I need to know where my characters start, where my characters end, the world they're in, and it just like not knowing that is. I'd be so lost.
Remind me to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I was going to tell you a spoiler of the next book, but I actually do. I think you
he doesn't
should check it out.
I'm the spoiler guy.
Some people don't want to do that.
Ask me.
Yeah, don't do it.
This next question seems like a spoiler, by the way. I don't know.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and say that. Question number 9. So we'll put a spoiler alert on this because it is somewhat very much one. All right. So spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Flip's relationship.
A light one.
Yes, Flip's relationship with Pepper and Freckle create a love triangle, but the emotional tension feels different from the typical version. It's less about competition and more about timing and understanding where his heart belongs. How did you approach writing that dynamic so it felt grounded? I feel like there's so many tropes and like very stereotypical love triangles. I didn't, although I thought I knew where most of it was going, a lot of this book, honestly.
No, you couldn't.
That's what I mean. There's so many things that I thought were going to go one way, and I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So even with this love triangle, again, spoiler, almost neither of them went the way that I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. And, I'd probably say the same thing. I think I originally started out thinking that this one relationship, the relationship with Pepper was going to be, a through thing. And then Freckle kind of popped up, and I was like, it also made sense because this was a different point in his life. He was away from his home, his friends. It was just him and Freckle. Like, of course, something would happen because also nothing really technically happened before. So it's not like he was wifed up or anything. And it, like, very naturally turned into a very realistic situation where, like, you sort of have this situationship with somebody, you don't really know where it's going to go. You go off to college, suddenly you're in a whole new place with a whole new people. You sort of start a relationship with somebody else because, it's all about proximity and timing. And then, when their worlds collide again, obviously it gets a little messy. But still, not everybody was always on the same page, which, it's just a very normal, natural thing that I think occurs all the time.
For sure, 100%.
Especially when people aren't communicating to the fullest and being so forward like somebody like Buzz would be.
Right.
And I think, they're like in their 20s and nobody's really that confident about
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I thought that was written well, because those are very boyish slip ups. Like the mistakes that he made.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I see this. Yeah. I get it.
It's something that like I have been through, and that friends have gone through. So yeah, I mean, I try to take as much from normal life as I can, like what makes sense to me realistically, even though this world that they're in is so outrageous and absurd. These are still real people experiencing this life.
This next one was more of a comment, so I'll just go ahead and say it. But you wrote the Flipper Code one, just Nicholas Sparks, get out of the way. Like I just love the idea of like, oh, when she says, don't say a word, and then he's like, oh, not even like in like a clever way. He's just like, I'll try Flipper Code. But the scene of Flipper Code and texting.
Yeah.
When you talk about pacing, this is usually the what this guy goes like when we talk to other authors is, are you aware of pacing? And from what you said, you are very aware of pacing. You understand it, and I would have guessed that because my stomach was in my throat during that scene, and then when he said I looked at my text and it wasn't there, and then the door opens, it just had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, so when I guess is that kind of what you were talking about earlier? Would you say that the transition of it being, from sketch or from pitching it as a show to then being a voice on podcasts, on a podcast series, to that, is that where the visualization really comes into play?
For sure. And pacing in comedy is such a big deal, so that's always at the forefront of my mind. And like getting in and out of scenes, it's like all about pacing with sketches, comedy, and also movies, TV shows. So yeah, that has always been a big part of my writing. And I very much imagine the scene in my head, all of the blocking and everything. I don't know how you two read, but when I read, I will hear a voice in my head. I will hear myself speaking and saying the words. So also when I write, I hear the book being said. And that, hearing the pacing in my own head, also I think just is so important and such a big part of my writing.
With that, because it's not on this right now, I told you before it started, we have to do a shout out to Ted Evans, who narrated the audiobook. And I was asking Jake before we started how that process was, and he was kind enough to be like, do you want to save it for the pod? And I did. I wanted you guys to hear it too. So that, in searching for someone, because I have heard other audiobooks, and never to shit on anyone else, but some are more interesting than others.
Yeah.
Ted delivered on this very, very well. I felt like each character had their own voice, had their own rhythm, whereas if it wasn't said who it was, I would still know who was saying it.
Yep.
And that's a compliment to both his performance and your writing. I think it was just met really well. So how did that process come to be?
Yeah, Ted Evans was fantastic. Couldn't have asked for a better narrator on this project, and finding him was a journey. This is the first book that I've done, so I also didn't really know what I was doing. I looked on a site that I think is called voices123.com or something for an audiobook narrator. Had some strangers from all over the country send in a 1-minute tape. Thought I found the guy. We started working together, and he was great with a lot of things, but he would miss a lot of jokes, and I wanted to be heavily involved. I wanted to be like, hey, could you say it in this way instead? Or you sort of, like, you changed the meaning here with that emphasis. And he was like, hey, I think you're great. I think the book's great, but I don't think we are going to...
He broke up with you.
Yeah, he broke up
He
with me.
broke up with you.
He broke up with me. Yeah.
It was mutual, it sounded like.
Well, no, I really think he was a very talented guy, and
Yeah.
I wanted it to work out. But I understand why, getting those notes might have been a little... He just realized that it might be more work than he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So then I started the search again, and I looked more at actual production companies that do this, audiobook production companies, and hit up some of the big ones, had some phone calls with some of these people, and realized that I guess what is typical in the audiobook space is you hand off your manuscript and maybe have one very short meeting with the narrator, or like send a page of notes, and then that's it. They just go.
Wow.
Which, to me, with this book in particular, was like, I can't do that.
Anxiety ridden. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This, like, the comedy, the tone, the pacing, all of it is so instrumental in making the entire thing work.
Right.
I was just like, I'm sorry, I just need to find a partner who's more collaborative. And that is when I found Audiobook Bonanza, a very smaller sort of boutique like audiobook production company. I had met the guy Tim Heller when he actually sent in a tape on Voices 1, 2, 3 or something.
Okay.
But he and I met. We got along great. He told me to reach out anytime, so I did. We had another great meeting. He, I can't say enough good words about Tim Heller and Audiobook Bonanza. And he was extremely collaborative, and he was the one who introduced me to Ted Evans. And they had sent me like 10 people who they thought would be a good fit for the book, and we were kind of like whittling it down, and eventually I decided on Ted, and he was like, all right, yes. It's like, yeah, all right, I knew it, we got Ted. So everybody who was a part of it just kind of came together very naturally and really gelled well together. And Ted and I had several meetings, and he was incredible with notes and redos, and I really couldn't have asked for a better team, and it turned out great. People love it, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I checked, I'm not joking, 3 or 4 times to make sure it was being narrated by Ted, because I told Jake when he got here that I followed Ted right away on social media, but I kept going back because I followed Jake as well. And I want to say that the voice he used was pretty similar, I feel like, to your voice. Not like...
Yeah.
But I was like, I think maybe he did a different version because this sounds like Jake. And so, not all the parts or anything, but I just kept going back, and I was like, man, talk about finding a narrator that really knows your voice in multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's not what you were looking for. Obviously you were looking for someone to impersonate you, but... the joke timing, everything was just delivered, and all the emotional, to get both of those, the emotional impact was there as well.
Definitely. It was great. Yeah, it was an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you listen to an audiobook and it's just, I've had some that are a drag.
Yeah.
Like the book is better without the audiobook.
Right.
Way
Mm-hmm.
better. It doesn't, the audiobook doesn't do a service at all.
One of your all-time favorites, I told you I went to did the audiobook. I won't say which one, but I said, I started the book. And you're like, oh yeah? I was like, yeah, the audiobook. And you're like,
Yeah, it's not it. It's not
don't,
Yeah.
don't do that.
No, I've had that experience too, where it's just like I will listen to the audiobook and it does not
Do it
work.
justice.
Does not work. And you read the book and it's like, oh, okay, I get why this was so popular.
Oh.
At first, I was wondering, do you do it audiobook, like especially Audible, was like a distribution tactic or something like this, or?
Yeah, so I am. I guess this is a nice plug, but I will be distributing everywhere.
Awesome.
It is just on Audible right now. Just got approved on In Audio, so it'll be spread far and wide.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, this is my debut novel, so I was really just trying to get as many eyes and ears on it as possible, and didn't want to do an exclusive with Audible, even though like royalties change and stuff. But yeah, it was really because I have a lot of friends that use Spotify.
Yeah.
And I really just wanted to make it as widely available. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, we bounce around with all of them really.
One thing we kind of we spoke about earlier was like humor and emotional weight. I think that emotional, like, I guess a couple of things other than emotional weight, but then like the ties between characters, the world building, all of it comes second to like character building. And in this book has very like memorable characters.
Thank you.
From the family, like not just family, Buzz, but also his friend group, and they're all very distinct. Were these characters always there? Like in terms of I was going off we'll say the friends first.
I'm trying to think of like so early versions of this story didn't have the friend group, didn't even have Flip. That was when it was like a TV show, podcast. Like Flip wasn't even part of it. Like he came in when the book happened, and that's also kind of like what made everything sort of click. And the friend group came in way later in the book. The timeline was really different. Like a version of this, I had Flip looking back on everything like he, like it was history. And then, and he met his friends like much later in the book because that's when he was a kid, much later in the book. When I brought that up, I brought everybody up. And then they just became so much more a part of the story. And it wasn't like, it really gave it its emotional center because before it was told much like a history book with jokes. Really didn't like bring you in. It didn't have its emotional center. And so when I ended up bringing them to the beginning and had them living throughout all of this, and having their lives change throughout it, it really made everything work so much better. But yeah, so I guess technically they were always there, but not in such a capacity.
Yeah.
And I guess it is hard to keep all of them straight sometimes. But I think that's also where a lot of the sketch writing comes in, and like imagining all of the blocking and everything so clearly in my head really helped keep everybody straight, probably.
It's awesome. It's cool. You know what I mean? That's like the first thing I hook onto. That's what really gives like books, I don't know, not depth, but for me like rereadability. Is the characters, because you can go back and connect with the character more or less later. But it also makes it feel real. So like in real life, we're kind of the summation of all the people we've met, and so that you can definitely see that in this book. With Flip. So of course, if they're
13 was just really that I was upset, but also happy that you used the trolley.
Oh.
Example.
Trolley problem.
Yeah, the trolley problem forever is something that I actually think while I was writing that out, I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, yeah. Because that's always something that no matter obviously, that's the trolley problem. But even thinking about it, always stomach and knots of like, oh, do I choose this?
Yeah.
Do I? Yeah. So that was more of a miscredence, but I'm fine. I'm fine now. So we don't even have to address it. Let me see. Moments like the colony orientation roller coaster feel like satire delivered through world building. When creating scenes like that, how do you decide when to lean into the absurdity versus grounding the story in the characters? That roller coaster opening was hilarious, especially with Paul, like, coming around and trying to get the words in. I could see how you could get lost if that took front and center, but you did such a great job of weaving it where I was happily learning about it. I felt like Back to the Future-esque, like when he's first showing up and he's seeing the future and everything, and they have all these like pop-up videos of hey, welcome to very much felt like I was in that world. How were you able to decide when to lean in to one and not the other?
When I was doing that, I had Jurassic Park and Mr. DNA in my head, because they are on a ride learning about dinos and stuff. So I took from that a little bit, and roller coasters are just more exciting. So
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, like, if in those chapters in particular, I wanted it to feel like you were there with Flip and his friends watching the video and going on the ride, rather than just me showing you the video and the ride. It just makes it more engaging, pulls you in a little bit more, I hope. And in terms of like when to lean into absurdity versus characters, that is something that I struggled with a lot during this book, and oftentimes would go too far and then have to pull it back.
Rein it in.
Rein it in. It was just the sort of thing where it's like I never wanted to go too far to where it's not relatable, it's not recognizable, and the characters always were like the core of that, because if it's not making sense for them to be there or experience this thing, then it wasn't going to work.
Why Mars? Because a lot of the plot could have happened anywhere.
Yeah, no, yes, and a lot of it doesn't really need sci-fi necessarily. I love science fiction. Huge space guy, huge future guy. So, for me creatively, playing in like the sandbox of the future and space, like there are literally limitless possibilities. You can do absolutely anything, and that is so much fun for me. So I really like to play in that stuff just naturally. And then Mars in particular is like, it's our next door neighbor. It's our buddy. It's our, we are actually planning to go there and colonize it. So it made sense, to just hop on over there. And like, I just am so curious about like, what is it gonna be like, the beginnings of it.
Right.
Like, what is that? How does that work?
Yeah.
How's that raffle gonna go?
Right.
It's probably similar to how you wrote it, where by the time they have like their own civilization, it's gonna be some kind of economic war with Earth.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. In it, they're like at this weird point where like they've built up quite a bit, and they really just don't need Earth anymore. So like, why be a part of it? I mean, it very much mirrored the U.S. history.
Yeah.
So that just kind of became a part of it.
Yeah, well, that's probably a spoiler. Never mind.
We're there.
Because even like just, it happens, it kind of folds in on itself. Like, because you have even between themselves, and then Buzz goes and takes all the clones and makes a whole other community, and then this community it's like it kind of folds, and that's what happens in real life where you have these situations where we just keep repeating history, over and over again.
Try not to be our dads anymore.
And always think we can do better, and like Flip, for so much of the book, always thinks he can do better, but still isn't really doing anything, and then at the end does. Well, I mean that's a spoiler.
We're there. We're fine.
At the end, does like decide to do something about it, and the last sentences are like, "And I'm gonna do it better."
Yeah.
Right.
Are you?
Will history say that? I don't know. One thing I did want to say about Choosing Mars. Visually, great. I'm a cover guy. Like, just when I'm walking through a bookstore or something, or a library, I will spend so much time, before I even read a book, the cover has to be kind of enticing. Cover looks great.
Did
it take you a long time to kind of settle on that?
So this was done by one of my very, very good friends in college, Andrew Colapreti, who is an incredibly talented illustrator. He works for Peanuts, does Snoopy stuff. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm looking to do this book cover. Like, do you know people who do book covers? Because there are specialized people. And I know he didn't necessarily do that. He asked some people, they weren't available, and he's like, I think we can probably figure something out with just us. And I was like, great, let's do it. And so we met over the course of like 3 months, 4 months, meeting every week, and just kind of slowly honing in on this image. We wanted it to be simple. And I mean, it is very simple. But he also read the first few chapters and was like, this tone is sort of reminding me of the dog with his cup of coffee that says that where everything's on fire, and
it's
like,
fine.
This is fine.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm like, I actually thought about that meme a lot when I was writing the book. So that became part of our inspiration for it, and it just really, it's so good. I was so happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, so much of I know, at least for social media, Book Talk, Bookstagram, whatever you find your books on. So many people nowadays is, I saw this book, I saw the cover, so I got it.
Yeah.
So I know that from my experience, I know I told you, but that I've seen your book cover so much online. And I mean, that's credit where credit's due. That it is an awesome cover, and I think simplicity always wins.
Yeah,
you're not overthinking it,
Yeah, for sure. And it's art, right? Like covers are, books in general. But I think that's another. It's like there's almost like a collective. What do you call it? I don't know. People like collect shit. Mm-hmm. They would probably like get into that. Just cool covers, cool book covers. So there's an easy buy-in there. And then you have like a very easy-to-read story, which I appreciate. Sometimes we read some pretty fucking deep. I'm not going to lie. This guy, he'll refer us.
I like to emotionally
damage us. Deep so stuff. This one was refreshing.
You have to be on the spectrum of it all.
Well, I hope this was also a little bit deep in unexpected ways.
Yeah, for sure. Did we talk about that on off camera? Like weird, probably. But yeah, weirdly, very deep, and interpersonal relationship stuff between family, friends, not just like relationships in terms of like boyfriend, girlfriend, but actual like best friend stuff, stuff that we all go through. Those growing pains.
There's a lot of. Without getting spoilers, because the ones that I'm having, but goodbyes that, whether they were planned or all of a sudden, there's very beautiful, beautiful moments that I was just like, oh, no one's looking right, So yeah, I think like I said, I hope that's getting across. You wove it beautifully, so
thank you.
I think it got lost in translation, but the whole idea of coming to the understanding that your first choice isn't always what's
best choice.
Yeah, it's not always the best choice. More importantly, it's your first choice. A lot of times you learn from, as Flip says, you learn what love is and what it isn't. Your expectations are leveled, or you know what you want basically.
Mm-hmm.
I found that in life, and I thought that was another great hallmark moment in the best way of just coming to that understanding that whether it's goals in life, whether it's career choices, whether you thought it was going to be a TV series or a podcast, now we're here. You have this awesome book. I thought the book itself was the metaphor enough for what it is.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, for sure. And there's a line in the book that's something like Flip's trying to get a job, and he's always the second choice.
Mm-hmm.
But so he just remains just as unemployed as everybody else. And that's straight from my life right there. And yeah, so much of Flip is a part of me and a piece of me, and the way my career has not gone how I envisioned it, you can definitely feel that in this book for sure. Yeah.
So when it becomes a movie or series, are
that's where we're going.
I'm writing that too.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't say no to that. Full circle.
Yeah, and if you need someone to play a character,
it's a guy.
Yeah.
Bleached hair.
Sure. You could go multiple, any color, really.
Yeah. Dye red.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. Jake, what do we have coming up next for you?
Working on another book.
All right.
Second one is in the works. It is not a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
It is also not even sci-fi. Totally different genre.
Okay.
Totally different story, different characters. But it is still very much a Jake Korell book, if that makes sense. Same sort of humor, same sort of world building. I'm hoping that readers will follow me to many different worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listeners, it has been said, I believe it, I can't remember if it was on the book or just on Audible itself, but the satire is similar to Kurt Vonnegut, Andy Weir, some of the greats. We threw our hat in and also said, those of our listeners that we know we have a big following that loves Dungeon Crawler Carl, Matt Dinniman, finding the funny in the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
I think any of you guys that have given a chance to Matt and his amazing writing would love this book by Jake.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
That means a lot, because I love Dungeon Carl.
Yeah.
Dungeon Carl Crawler.
Dude, every time my eyes go like DCCC.
Yeah. Those books are so much fun.
Also, just wanted to say it's about your book. For people who like science fiction, if you like adventure, this is great. This is the book for you. This is a great.
If you have daddy issues,
Coming of age thing.
Yeah. You all will love it. So, as Jake said, you're going to be able to get it everywhere. Currently, for physical copies, you guys click the link at his website. On his website, I believe right now it's shipping from Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, but also will show up in other bookstores that Ingram Spark does.
Awesome.
And, so, yeah.
Get it where you can.
Get it where you can, guys.
Get it where you can.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you for making
that
the
West
trip.
LA traffic is different.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
I used to work in Culver City, and I worked in Beverly Hills. And after 3 p.m., it takes you 45 minutes to an hour and a half to get to anywhere on that side of town.
Yeah.
Awful.
Well, we'd love to have you back at any time.
Yeah.
You have an open chair here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love to pick your brain whenever we have other authors on or have any panels. We also do our live events at bookstores, so
Yeah.
We got
Awesome.
I was gonna say. I was maybe
You
after.
don't need to know about that right now.
Okay. All right.
All right. With that said, guys, thank you for joining us this week. We've said it before. We'll say it again. This book is a treat.
Check out Second World.
Second World by this man, Jake Korell.
Hope you enjoy.
We'll see you guys next week.